welcome back. Hi there. Hello. Sorry. Hi there, welcome back, thank you. Cool, so I was doing the J. Now one thing about the J, maybe when you exit, what I just noticed, my problem here is it's a little bit too long. So it's too close. Now when you come up, this is a little detail. You want to come up slightly below the baseline. You notice here it's all below the baseline. The baseline is this darker line. Okay, so you see this is slightly below the baseline. The reason is when you're slightly below the baseline and when you come out, okay, it looks like it's connected together. Let's do it one more time. Okay, so I put it slightly below, and then when it come out, it just start right on the baseline and extend out. Now this, as I said, I studied from my previous script, the previous J. I try to make this exit stroke shorter, so that it's not touching or too close to the cat eye, which is above it. And I would do the cat eye from starting here, curve in, lift, come out, forming the other side of the oval. Now clearly I forgot, it's an old habit, can't change. And then adding that hairline. Okay, this synthetic shade, personally I really like it, because by adding this shade, it looks more sophisticated. I remember reading from the business educator one time, and they talk about these kind of synthetic shade, or these shade which is on the ascenders. So if you see, if you write a traditional or letter H, for example, okay, and then you come here, right? This is your synthetic shade here. It makes it more elegant. And in the educator, the business educator, which is an old magazine, and it talks about, it's like people speaking English. It's like some people just got it, like they slur when they speak English, or you can be really like, you haven't got it, you know. So this is exactly kind of how they were describing, and I think it's very important, because if you want to be a calligrapher and you really want to stand out, I think the best way to really stand out is to care so much about the little details, even though maybe your skills level is not allowing you to achieve the look of it, but at least you try. Because if you don't pay attention to these little details, it's just, I think you get what I mean, right? So I think even though I cannot be always consistent, I still have tons of issues with my consistency, but I care about all these details, the synthetic shade, you know. Yeah, and then I usually, to be honest, I touch up a lot. Like here, I would add a hairline so that this curve, it's more like the nib opens more smoothly. Now, because we're doing a demo, I honestly have the the camera in front of me, it's literally, it's much harder to write accurately. I know it's not an excuse, but it is kind of an issue for me. Okay, I'm gonna come back here and show you. Okay, if this is your shade of the 55-degree slant, it should be more or less parallel. Okay, it may not be completely exactly the same, but you really want the top and the bottom, the width, the negative space to be parallel. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you. I've been there. I mean, I remember all those times when I first started back in 2012, and I knew nothing. It takes time. So what was that? Where were I? I was doing the J, right? So the J. Now that was the first option that you can write, so it was easy. Now you can do the same. Aim lower, below the baseline, so when you come out, you can come out here. Now immediately you want to add the little synthetic shade. It's a very tiny little shade, like that. And you can check. Now of course, if I can, I will touch up. Thanks for all the hearts. Okay, sometimes maybe the danger of touching a little bit too much. Now that's still okay, because the idea is you have gradation of pressure, and the center area, so around here to here, has the widest shade, and back to thin line. And of course you can check your little triangle, right? So all repeating me. Now the second option, lift, then you travel up and then come down like that. Thank you. Yes, writing with the camera is uncomfortable. I'm still learning. I actually spent so much money on buying all these camera, because before the lockdown I did not do any video at all, but I think this really forced me to try to catch up with the technology. Come up. Okay, you hit below the baseline, you kind of come out, curve. Remind yourself not to go too high up so that it will touch the right side of the cat eye. Okay, and also of course if you're connecting with another alphabet, like I will aim to stop here. So if I write Jamie, right, so I need to stop about the midpoint so that I can connect with the A, like that. Okay, come back here, synthetic shade, lift, travel, and down. That's your second ductus, let's call it, second way to write it. So you come down, number 2, then you come down, that's 3. Now number 1 is the beauty line. Now I think this is such a long beauty line. Sometimes you can also just practice it, extract this line on its own. You can just practice this. Okay. And ideally is you want to achieve consistency. I always think the second time trying is better than the first. Okay, so that could be a drill. And more details here. This descender loop, you kind of have this and then curving. and then you come up like that. So if you think about this negative space, it's like a teardrop. It is straight, curve, and curve. So when I say straight, it's like along the slant, and when you hit here, it's gradually changing into a curve, and then it will be on a curve upwards, which is essentially like your lowercase j, right? So it's the same concept. Of course, you come back here, add a synthetic shade. Now the reason I mention this is because when we do the Z or Z, do you remember in the previous class we did it, and the Z of the Z looks like this. You hit below the baseline, you come out with an exit stroke. Of course, you then add the synthetic shade. Key difference here, quite obvious, right? This descender, it's a curve of force, continue curving and then curving up. So it's different from the J. And for the capital letters and the lowercase, all you need to remember is the C or the Z. It has a descender which has a curve. Okay, so for Y, for G, for J, they have the straight line. So the Y, curve, just like that. Okay, so this is what I when I say straight, it's on the slant, but of course it curve in. Okay, now where am I? Yes. third option for the ductus for J. I will do a quick summary towards the end, so if you're just joining in, then don't worry, there will be a summary and everything tonight. If you cannot stay with me, I will try to save it on the IGTV, which means you can revisit or watch it again. Now, below baseline, come out light in short curve. This line is technically an S curve. Okay, whoa, this is a little bit more dramatic, but they are like a number 8 basically. You can think of it like a number 8 or infinity. And again, sorry for spitting my writing. Now, third, you can do the same, and then you travel down to add the synthetic shade. Of course, my apologies, you add this shade one more time. Come up like that. Okay, that is a little issue here, not a biggie, but this line goes below the waistline. This is your waistline. but generally it looks, so I'm checking approximately a little bit out, but just by a tiny bit because of the synthetic shade, which is, I think, is acceptable. And then the spacing here equals the spacing here. This line is on slant. You have the triangle here. Okay, now this, the triangle is not so prominent, right? The curve is not very prominent. It could be hidden here. Okay, what else can we check? Yeah, the teardrop shape, recognize this, really maybe extract it and practice a lot of this as a drill. So when you do that, this is done in purposely, right? Right? Yes, it is. So what I want to show you is how you can help yourself practice. Compare. First one was done in an ideal shape. The second one may be a little bit too low, so the teardrop suddenly become too small. So when you're practicing, you're kind of aiming for the same, hitting about below the baseline. Okay, all right, now I've done all three Ductus. Maybe I'll write this one as well. So you have the first one, which is building the beauty line, and then you will come down and continuously going this way as your number 2. Then you add the synthetic shade, number 3. So that's your third method. Now, what else do I want to show you? One last thing, very last thing before I do a quick summary is you can also has another letter form. What it means is you can do, for example, INJ this method. Okay. Oh, I forgot. So this is the previous, this is not a good line. Okay, now extend from here. Make a little loop here. So what I did is I extend and make an indirect turn. So indirect is going this way. One more time. You push through this hairline. Like that. Okay, this is quite elegant. I like it. I think it has a little bit more modern feel to it in a way. In the scenario menu, it's more commonly written with this style without the little loop. Can you guys hear the guitar? Because my husband is practicing guitar. Like that. Push through. Now you can decide whatever options you like. You can travel going up, because by traveling in the air, it just helps you to see the shape of the oval. Because if I just come down, sometimes it could be like wider, it can be less accurate, right? You travel up, then you swing down. I think I'll make it a bit wider. So, and also sometimes overthinking can be a problem. So just think and do it, but don't think too long. a little bit strict slant, push through, press, come up, and travel and press. Okay, so you can add the loop. The idea is when you make this tiny little loop, you have to extend from your beauty line and then do a kind of a right turn and down. I always think of this like a treble clef. Treble clef, I believe is how you call it. I hope I don't. I think this is it. Okay, I have no music talent. So I said earlier that I went home today. So I went back to see my father, and so what happened is I was looking through all the old stuff that my parents saved for us, like university stuff, high school certificate, old photos, a lot of memorabilia that's been kept with them for over 20 years. And I was going through with my sister the whole day, and we found our piano exam paper, and every page I failed. I mean, every exam, I think I took 3. Yeah, very bad. So it's not something I'm proud of, but I just don't have the music talent. Okay, and then you can travel up and come down. Okay, I think I've written enough to show you, right? So you can use the loop method, and you can apply for the letter J as well. And I will do a quick summary. So I have prepared now, because for the live demo, I've been preparing a lot of these notes or typed out. So when I do the demo, I make sure I don't miss any important points, because sometimes I do get a bit nervous or something I forgot. I will try to make this available so you can have the options to download it. There will be a small fee, but it will be helpful if you're not able to take my in-person workshop. So let's do the eye. I will explain. This is quite easy to do when you have no ink. Now, first of all, we want to start the line of universal beauty from a hairline. So remember, do not add pressure here. So you want to start thin and then slightly adding pressure. Your tines should spread open. The widest point is in the center. Slowly talk to your finger and reduce pressure back to a point before you touch the baseline. Okay, so you come up, scooping up, thinking about the bigger oval, which kind of balance this oval, thinking about coming up with light or zero pressure. Well, it should be zero pressure so that there's no scratchiness. And you come up, scooping it about the middle, approximately. Draw a ball shape. Now you lift and you press, the ink will fill up. That's your first most important line of universal beauty. Now, then we do the cat eye, which is starting from the left. You can start from a thin hairline, no pressure, gradually adding pressure, and then reducing and back to hairline, and touch the waistline. So the cat eye would take about 2 portions, and this is your X height. So as you can see, this is your X height, and you take the whole ascender, then you jump through and going up, relax. Okay, so without me talking, you can see. like that. Now, of course, the lifting no need to be like dramatic. I'm doing it for you. Usually I kind of just jump through. Okay, so that was the letter I. Now let's move to letter J. Does this help? I think without the ink, it's quite useful, right? Now this is done by Illustrator. I mean, it was traced from an original inked alphabets and then using Adobe Illustrator, so it looks very graphic, but that's the idea, to show you very sharp lines. Now starting with no pressure, adding more, coming down. It's such a long line, it goes all the way down, but the idea is as you're pressing, your eye will be looking at all these guide, right? So without guide, it's really difficult. I would suggest don't practice without guideline, especially if you are somehow new to calligraphy. I'll come back to this point. Now, can you travel? So you can, not can you can travel down, and then you can start seeing you pass the baseline. It's time to cut down the pressure, because you know that the heaviest point, it's mostly sitting in the center, which is the X height. And then you start to reduce the pressure back to the hairline. Okay, if you want, you can lift here, or you can continuously going up with the hairline, lift. Now this touching below the baseline a little bit, and lift. You can move your hand and find the connected point and go up. The idea of lifting is to avoid pulling the inks. Then you come back to here and add a synthetic shade. The synthetic shade will travel, retracing this curve, and add pressure and reduce the pressure and down. Now, some people just add without the traveling movement. There is an English term for it. If someone knows, please let me know. Because sometimes I try to describe with my English and in maybe in a unclear manner. So you travel without touch, without pressing, and then you press and back to hairline. So now after you do this, of course, this is such a long stroke. The movement requires a lot of relaxation. It's mostly your arm movement if possible. So you can travel down, because if you just use your wrist, it's really difficult. So you want to move your arm. Well, if you can't do it, just aim to try to do it. Now, coming back to the cat's eye, curve with the hairline, pressure in the center, quickly back to thin line, jump, skip, come out and up. Okay, so that's your letter J. Let's do one without talking. Okay, just like that. So hopefully that was useful. Now these are just to show you the I and the J when you are using the different ductus. So I think it's quite clear, but let me write still for those who just joined me. Add pressure, start to reduce once you pass the waistline. Back to a thin hairline, relax, curve, make a round ball shape, lift, pressed, film with ink. Try not to stir, try not to like coloring in, because if it's very wet tip, it will pull the paper, the fiber. because by stirring it, the paper fiber get a little bit more moist. Now, then you lift, you travel your nib to the point, curve with a hairline, adding pressure. Center area here has the widest shade. So remember your Tai Chi energy, back to thin. Here you lift, travel above, but start here. You can go up, lift, and add the synthetic shade, or you can come down, lift, travel in the air, pretend there's an oval, then you you travel up thinking there's an oval, right? So you travel up and then you place your pen on the paper, add pressure, back to a thin line. Okay, so it will be the same for J. And then of course you will also have the loop version if you want to. Now look at these alphabet and really study it. You see the cat eye sit right the same area, and this is your baseline, and the J will go below the baseline. Because sometimes, like if you write Jamie, and a lot of modern calligraphers, or maybe people who do calligraphy in a modern style, would do a bit shorter without showing a descender. It could look like an I-me instead of someone called Jamie. Okay, so to wrap it up quickly, whenever you do capitals, I also think it's important. So I wrote down these checkpoints. So you check the slant. Make sure all the slant are parallel to each other. You can check the shade. What it means by checking shade, primary versus secondaries. The primary should be the key stamp, which is in this case, is the line of universal beauty. It should be wider than these two shades. These are the secondary shade. Okay, and then you can check the spacing to find consistent negative spacing. Now, what it means with maybe example like this, you can check the negative space left, balancing on the right. Okay, also spacing, you can put down the slant, this and here it's on the same parallel slant. Well, I think this categorized more like a slant rather than spacing. And the last thing is your oval. It's a cat's eye. So what it means, it's a lot of people when we're leaving, as in doing the exit stroke, we do it in a rush, but try not to rush. Try to think about this oval here. Okay, think about this oval, so you will leave or exit with care. Same here, when you exit, notice this is extending to another oval. It's a little bit more subtle here, but it is not just a whatever line. So that concludes what I want to show you today. So hopefully this will be helpful. If you like to support me, and please, you can go to my website. So all the tools that I've been showing, for example, Michael's pen, the nib that I've been using, or Warner ink, or the ruler, or the magnets, they're available on my shop, and I ship internationally. And if you have a question, you can send it now. I'll just quickly go through. Let me see. I quickly go through to see if any question. Thank you. Let's see. Video take much time? Yes, video takes a long time. So one last thing is I want to thank my colleague Dickie, because I was rushing trying to come back on time. Sorry, I hope I wasn't late. And my colleague Dickie was helping me to set up the whole studio, telling me which light I can turn on so that it won't have shadow. She's amazing, and I appreciate all your help. So someone said, thank you, Kalo, fabulous live. Thank you. It would be great if you would be happy to do a live showing how to relax the arm. Yes, I think that would take a topic. There's so many things to talk about. I think If you ever have question, you can send it to me, because I'm planning to do a lot of little short videos to help, you know, answering questions, and not about the alphabets but more about the techniques. Yes, thank you, Dickie. Thank you, Belinda. So sweet. Okay, hopefully that helps you, and I hope you have a good evening. And thank you so much again for joining in, and I'll see you next Wednesday. We'll talk about letter T and F. Good night. Bye.